Welcome to the shop, fellow maker. You've got Bill today. Britt's behind the camera there. And thank you everyone who chimed in on our last video. A bunch of you jumped in to support us on Patreon and right here on YouTube memberships. We really appreciate that. Expect the rest of the year to get weirder and weirder. And thank you for making that possible. You guys are great. Today, I want to do a bit of a shop tour and cover the workstations that we have down here in our basement. We're very fortunate. We have this entire basement, or most of it anyway, that we can dedicate to our prop and costume making shop, and we have multiple workstations. And I've discovered that each workstation has 3 of the same tools at all of them. We'll get into that in a second, but first, let's take a look at our shop as a whole. In 2021, we moved out of our big shop and back into our basement, and this here is a representation of our basement. When we moved back into the basement, I made this model so that we could plan on where all of our big furniture pieces were gonna go. You can see we're standing in the studio room right here with our big old table, which is this table right there, and Britt and me. But the rest of it was laid out with our bigger tools like the drill press or the bandsaw and the rest of our work surfaces, so that when we moved everything into the shop, it already had a place. And so far, for the last 4 years or so, this arrangement has worked really, really well. And I wanted to talk about how well all these different workstations have worked for us, starting with the one right here where I'm standing. This area right here is where we do most of our filming and subsequently most of the work on all of our props and costumes. So I've surrounded myself with the tools that I use most on a day-to-day basis. The tool I use the most, of course, is this table. We picked this table up from another company that was going out of business, and we got it for a song, and it's awesome. It's like 1.25 inches of plywood on the top here, so it's super heavy. The legs are all made out of 1/4 inch steel. I will keep this thing until I die. It's awesome. It's big enough that we can do full sheets of foam or big pieces of fabric on here. And it's covered with a really big cutting mat that is starting to really show its age. I should probably replace soon. Underneath this table is where I keep all of my drafting tools and measuring tools. It's a little bit of a mess right now. In fact, I could use a second drawer. I built this and attached it to the bottom of this table here so I could keep all of this stuff, drawing templates for circles, straight edges of various kinds, all kinds of drafting tools, pocket references, and lots of little spare bits and bobs. I love having all of this stuff at my fingertips so that when I'm working, it's tucked away, but then I can pull it out and get everything that I need right here. Super duper useful. I use it every single day. Behind me, I keep tools I use on a semi-regular basis. I have a couple of pan vices. I have my T-handle Allen wrenches, so useful. And then this chest is full of tools that I use maybe like once a week. Things like weird pliers or cutters or files. Stuff I don't want to walk to go get, but things I don't use all the time. We've got even more pliers, even more files, and also some more pliers. Next to that, this is all the stuff I use pretty much every single day. I have a power station set up for things like a heat gun, hair dryer, hot glue gun, and power drills, along with drill bits for the power drills. I also have my rotary tool over here, but this is gonna get moved. This thing makes a huge mess. You can even see I've got some orange bender car bits right there. It makes a huge mess, and while I built this downdraft table to use with that, I've never actually used it as a downdraft table. The vacuum got repurposed for a CNC machine. So this doesn't get used. I think I will move this into the other room where I have proper dust collection for it, and that means moving all of my bits. These are all on a magnet strip, and those can go live with this elsewhere. Next to that though, these are the hand tools that I use every single day. X-Acto blades of various sizes and shapes, little screwdrivers, more of our favorite extendo blade knives, and the specific pliers that I use every day. Needle nose pliers. These machinist pliers are really amazing. Of course, flush cut nippers and a little pail bender. Then along the rest of the workbench here, again, stuff I use probably on a weekly basis or more. Things like needle files, sculpting tools, this is a little hacksaw blade, and then drawing tools, consumables like popsicle sticks, sanding sticks, bamboo skewers, and consumable brushes over there. Of course, I've got my 1, 2, 3 blocks in various sizes for a million different purposes. And then, of course, like I said, the 3 tools that are at every single workbench. Like I said, we have several workbenches set up in our basement. This is only one of them. They all have 3 tools in common. Something to measure, usually a pair of digital calipers. Something to mark, usually that means a mechanical pencil. And then something to cut, which means our punished props, extended blade, snap cut knives. Every workstation has at least these on them, but a bunch of other things too. So let's go check them out. This is our lathe workbench over here. And just like the other workbench, we have measuring tools like calipers and rulers. We have marking tools. In this case, I use a Sharpie for a lot of the marking on the lathe. I also have these whiteout pens that are super, super useful. And then cutting tools. We've got more snap blade knives. And then for the lathe, it's got its own cutting tools for the lathe. Everything we do tends to be measuring, marking, and cutting. For the lathe, it's got its own specific tools that it needs. For example, this 14mm wrench here I took from a set. It lives with the lathe because it fits this exactly. So this just lives with the lathe now. And there's a bunch of stuff like that, like pliers and screwdrivers, some of the bigger things. I have multiples of those tools scattered throughout the shop so that I don't have to go anywhere. In fact, I even got a pair of drill and driver combo for just this area. It's right here. This is so I don't have to walk into the other room to get a drill and a driver. I have 2 sets of these now, and I find that a little bit of a luxury, but it's also really great so that you don't have to keep setting things up or moving tools between rooms. I recommend, if you can swing it, treat yourself to having multiple tools set up at your multiple workstations. Speaking of, let's go look at the last one. This is our CNC corner, a big old workstation set up for doing things with computer control. We have a PC behind me here, and that controls the CNC machine. We have a vinyl cutter hiding over there. We have an Ultimaker hiding behind me that doesn't get a lot of use lately. And a couple of Prusa machines there. We even have some more 3D printers hiding back there. This workstation has been getting a lot of use. I've been doing a lot of 3D modeling and printing lately. And I set up this shelf just specifically for these 2 printers, but I'm gonna have to make some changes. I'm really happy with how this is all set up, especially this strip that I have for turning the printers and the lights on. It's super quick and snappy. I even tried to make a little enclosure here to keep our printers warm. It doesn't do a great job. It gets pretty chilly down here, but this is to keep it a little warmer, and I've got some foam here that again is doing a very mediocre job of keeping it warm. I have an enclosure for this Prusa Mark IV that our pal Pooch hooked us up with, and it won't fit in there. So I'm gonna have to rearrange this whole shelf setup so that we can probably have maybe 3 machines, move this out of there, do a bunch of work to that. If or when we end up upgrading this whole situation, there will be a video on our main channel for that. So look forward to that coming soon because this needs a little bit of work. But overall, I'm really happy with how it works. We have Pooch's rep rack set up top so that we can feed filament straight down into the printers, and that has worked great. Now, do we have our 3 tools? Well, we've got measuring, we've got calipers. These live right next to the computer for when I'm doing my CAD work. We've got all manner of marking tools over here, Sharpies, pens, and mechanical pencils, and of course, loads and loads of cutting tools. We sell these on our shop, so of course I've got them scattered throughout the basement. So useful. What I want to know is, do you have a tool or tools that you buy multiples of and scatter throughout the shop? What are the really useful things? Things are so useful you have more than one of. Please share down in the comments. I am always looking to buy more tools. I'm sure other people down there will be excited for a reason to go tool shopping. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Like I said, we really appreciate y'all chiming in and helping us out with our last video, and the wave of new supporters over on Patreon and YouTube memberships is very uplifting. So we are optimistic about the future, and we're very excited to share whatever weirdness we're going to get into this year. And trust me, it's going to get a little weird. That'll wrap it up for me in the basement today. Thanks for hanging out with us again. Thanks for the support, and we will see you in the next build. Happy crafting.